Right, well, welcome everybody to April's agency admin webinar. My name is Stephanie. I am the HMIS team lead. And then we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. Go ahead, Ali.
Hi, I'm Allie. I am an HMIS specialist, and I think I just saw someone talk about bear attacks and absolutely definitely going to the beach. I was going to the beach anyway, but then I forgot about bears, and they scare me. They're cute, and I don't think that they should be so cute for being so ferocious because I want to pet them, but then they're mean. As they should be. It's their territory. They get to be mean. But we're going to the beach.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandy, HMIS program specialist. I grew up in California, love the beach and all the vibes, but I won't go more than a toe deep in water. Just love the scene.
Hi, I'm Frankie Dees. I'm a HMIS Helps Desk Specialist, and as you know, I picked the woods. And thank you all for being here.
Hey everyone, I'm Laura, program specialist, and yeah, I pick beach even though I would be stressed my whole life being there.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a manager with the HMIS team. And as I drawn on about before, I would pick the woods. No good reason, it's just first instinct. So I'm glad everyone's here.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to go over the agenda for today's AAW. We're going to go over our webinar reminders, any announcements that we have, a training session on the 0252 DQ notifications and clearing errors, the impact of fake clients in the live site, and new user packet reminders. Some webinar reminders is that we ask that you share any relevant information with appropriate staff at your agency, that you ask questions using the Q&A function. Attendance is collected by survey completion at the end of this session. And webinar recording and notes will be sent out by Monday, May 4th. And then Friday, May 8th is the deadline to complete the video/quiz.
So this is me. So we have one announcement, something that we'll share every month as we move forward, but there is still a vendor transition planned and in progress. And so we don't have any really major updates, but we just want to make sure that we share consistently, especially for individuals who might not be attending every month or who might have missed last month and so forth. So currently, we're still working on the contract with the vendor. So this does include all three COCs. And as you can imagine, it can be challenging because each COC, operates differently. One is in a state government with Ado, one's in a city government with Tucson, and one's a nonprofit in Maricopa. So all different processes, different sort of finance rules, different all sorts of contract. I forget the word, but it's a challenging process, but we are making progress. That's the major milestone that we're looking to achieve right now. The other thing that has been up, the most recent change is that we did request HUD TA or technical assistance to help us develop statewide policies. So as we are going to be three COCs, all coming into alignment on a lot of things, we want to make sure our policies are also consistent across the board, especially for agencies that might be in more than one continuum. And so HUD TA will be able to provide us with some technical assistance in that regard, which is really exciting. They have a lot of experience. They've done this with other continuums in states throughout the nation. So that will be a huge help to this work. And then the final note, just to clarify the expected timelines. So tentatively, Maricopa County would be transitioning in September of this year. The goal would be early September, and Balance State would be transitioning in November of this year. Now, I know that we don't represent PIMA, but if there are any agencies that do work in PIMA, they would probably be looking at January next year in 2027. So, sweet here. And then the only thing I'll note before moving on is that if you do have questions, it is helpful to go ahead and put them in the Q&A instead of the chat. If you put in the chat, we'll copy it over. But we are able to capture the Q&A questions after the webinar is over and sort of send it out to other users who might not have been able to attend live. So that's one other last minute announcement. But does anyone have any questions about the vendor transition or any of these updates at this time?
Okay, so I'm just going to be going over how to run and review the 0252 report for data quality. Um, so some of you guys may be hearing from me or Michael monthly. We do run this report monthly. Um, and so the standard in Maricopa and Balance of State is 98% for the universal data elements only. So these housing projects, rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, other permanent housing, homeless prevention, and transitional housing, as well as emergency shelter. These are the projects that we're pulling. If there's any information missing in the UDE, your score will decrease. So the way our process works, so monthly we conduct a data quality audit. And then again, depending on those agencies that scored below that 98%, we will send them a notification, just, asking them to run the report and make any updates that are needed and offer our support as well. And then I just wanted to note that agencies that have been under the standard for more than 3 months and have not been communicative with me or Michael about, them updating this information. It is part of our process to just let the COC know this information. And so, yeah, that information will be addressed with the COC. And then I just have the agency's process. So what you guys should be doing monthly is running that 0252 data completeness report. And then in the client's detail tab, you'll see no information there if there is anything that's missing. So we just ask that you update the no data for that specific client that pulls up in the report. And then you run the report after 24 hours to see if those errors have cleared. So I do have the location here of the 0252 report in Maricopa and Balance of State if you guys want to capture that, but I will be showing you guys in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and take the screen, if that's okay, Stephanie. So yeah, I'm currently in Balance of State, but the same process is going to be for Maricopa. So I'm just going to connect to business objects. We're going to go into the folders tab, go into public folders, the Arizona Housing Live folder, and I believe for Maricopa, it's just Arizona Live folder. And then after that, it's the same process. So data quality reports. And then we have here 0252. So there's one with clients' names and then one without. So I'm gonna pull the one without just to show you guys these prompts. So all we need to enter here is the provider information, start date, and end date. Those are the only ones we need to update. So here under provider, I'm just gonna hit this refresh button. And I'm gonna use a training project that we have. But you would enter here your project ID or project name. And then once you select it, you can keep continuing to enter other projects if you wanna get multiple projects in one. So once I select that, I'm gonna go to start date. Our process is to backdate up to 3 months. You can do it monthly if you're up to date with it every month. But if it's been a few months, then I suggest backdating. So I'm gonna do 1/26 and then end date just this month. Okay, so again, just provider, start date, end date, and then I'm gonna hit run. And then I just pulled up something here because this project doesn't actually have any data in here. But this is what that report would look like. So actually, before I do this, I just want to let you guys know it would be easier to see this information in Excel. So as soon as you do download that, you're going to want to come up here to this download button. We're here under Excel, and then just make sure you hit all reports and then export that way, and then open it up that way. When you do that, it will look like this. And then here, I just want to go over these tabs so you guys are familiar with what these tabs mean. So we have the client's name, the client ID will be here, social security number, date of birth, race and ethnicity, gender, sex, veteran status, the disabling condition question in the UDE, the previous length of stay in the UDE, length of stay prior to coming to you in the UDE. If there's any household errors, this is destination. If there's any issues with the client exit, head of household errors, and then location also in the UDE. So I'm going to pull up our test client just to show you guys where you would go to update that information. So I'm going to use this project. Okay, and then all these nulls will be in the UDE. So again, you just want to pull down here. Let's say we're going to update this previous length of stay because it's showing here null. So it's showing that it doesn't have any information. If I scroll down to previous length of stay in previous place here, I see that there's no information entered here. So this is where I'm going to want to go ask the client, or if I already know this information, just go ahead and update it. Same thing for length of stay prior. I see a null here. So I want to update that. And then I see that the prior living situation is not answered as well. So I'm just going to want to update that. And then that's pretty much it. Just wanted to let you guys know kind of where to go to view that information. Anything that does pop up in the 0252 under only this universal data elements is what affects your score. So if there is any nulls here, you will want to update that. It's always best to update as much information as you can. So if you do see nulls in this additional data element, you can update that. But for the standard or data quality standard, it is specific to universal data elements. And then if you do see, I just want to go over real quick. If you do see that the social security number or the sex is not answered, it's not in the UDE, but it is on the client's profile. So here under client record, under the client profile is where you're going to want to go to update that information. So I'm going to hit that pencil icon. And then I see here the social security number is not updated. Going to want to change that to be accurate. And then, yeah, if I did need to update sex, that would be here. And yeah, that's it for this training. If there's any questions, please go ahead and ask in the chat. Okay, and stop sharing.
Please ask in the Q&A.
Oh, yes, in the Q&A.
Yeah, there is one question. It says here, what about children enrolled in the household? Does the UDE need to be complete on them as well?
So only that top section, nulls will pop up under the client's profile if the top section before eviction and before the prior homeless residence questions. So that's just their demographics. If their demographics aren't filled out, like date of birth, social security number, things like that, sex and veteran status, all that does need to be answered for all household members. But the prior his homelessness residence only has to be answered for adults or head of household.
And another question, it says here, I had 2 errors recently on gender and cannot find gender in the demographics at all anymore. Only can find it in the place you say to not enter it in.
And I can jump in on this one too. So gender has been retired from the universal data elements, and so that one isn't available on the UDEs any longer. And Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but the gender has actually been removed from the calculation of the UDE score because it has been retired from HUD officially on the fiscal year 2026 data standards and also from the UDE assessment as well. So for the time being, it's there for reference. Now, at this point, sex, that column is also available on the detail page that Laura showed, but it's not currently feeding in to the UDE score. Now that will change over the next 6 months, especially as we transition to a new vendor. Right now, the completion rate for sex is really low, like 30 or 40%, I think at best. And so we don't want everyone to tank their score overnight because there are definitely projects with hundreds and hundreds of clients involved. And obviously, that would be a lot of work and a lot to ask right off the bat. So we will be rolling out sort of an actual expectation for sex as a column. In terms of gender, though, you can disregard that and just make sure you complete sex instead.
Yeah, and so what I am thinking is maybe you have outdated 0252 versions saved to your favorites. And if you do see that only genders popping up, I do believe it might be an outdated version. So if you follow the path to go to the newest 0252 and favorite that one instead, it should, that gender section shouldn't show up.
And then just a follow up on that same question. It says, okay, but it is still showing as a null data. Will it affect my score?
And I think if you had an old version of the report, it may still be calculating into the final score. But to Laura's point, I think we need to work to make sure you have the most recent version, which will exclude the column entirely, and that would not affect your score.
And then another question, it says all adults question mark, not just head of household.
Yeah, so for the 0252, again, it's only the demographics information that will pop up for minors, but all adults do need to have that homeless prior residence questions answered. So that's anyone 18 or older.
The homeless history question.
And that is labeled in the software. There's a header that says for client present prior residents, heads of households, and all adults. And if you hover over the questions as well with your cursor, you'll get a pop-up and it'll also tell you if it's required by all adults. So that's another hint for any users in the system.
Okay, Frankie.
There's a question from Heather on the last slide. In the question. She asked, also for children who transition to adulthood in a household, would the prior living situation need to be updated at that point?
What a fantastically complex question. Technically, the data is only collected at entry. So as of entry, they would still be a minor, and it probably would not affect anything negatively. When they do go ahead and age into being technical adults, it would really be driven by reporting, quite honestly. So there are some reports that pulls the most recent data. So if it's 5 years later and the individual's now 20, like some reports, the CUCAPR will pull the most recent information and say, oh, they're 20 now. Why is that missing? You might have to go back and do that. Federal reports are probably pulled as of the enrollment when they were a minor. So it's really dependent on the reporting. And I think if you have a specific one in mind, let me know. You can reach out to me or submit a ticket, and then we can investigate that. I think the practice would be going to update that information. I want to verify. I think you can leave it as is, quite honestly, because it is at enrollment. But if it's driven by reporting, I'd want to double check to give you a better answer. Perfect.
Okay, moving on. So I'm here to talk about making fake clients in the live site. The reason, like I said, I'm here to talk about is highlight the impact creating fake clients in the live site has on the system, eventually reporting, and eventually potentially funding, if there's enough of them. It may seem like it's a small issue, but it really makes it a big impact on all aspects of HMIS. Fake clients can show up across multiple reports, and just a few entries can distort all kinds of reports. Sometimes the test clients are created in the live site for practice, and unless we know about them, and I can go in and because I can't detect them, but if you let us know, we can delete them. But creating them does cause a problem. which is why using proper training environments is the best practice, which would be our live site, or our live site test clients. There's one in each Valdosta State and one in Maricopa. And then Maricopa also does have the training site for potential use from all users who get that credential when they get their live site credentials. You can create anything and do anything in the training site that you need to do, and it doesn't affect any reporting or any data. The challenge is that HMIS doesn't recognize a fake client. It counts them as real. That means that client numbers increase, outcomes can become inaccurate, and the data stops reflecting what's actually happening. When data is off, it can affect reporting to HUD, training site for Maricopa. BOS, unfortunately, you don't have a training site at this time. I'm not sure if you will by the time we get to Green River, but I'm hoping so. If so, then you guys will also be getting those credentials when you get your live site credentials. At the end of the day, using the right tools for testing any kind of data helps keep our data accurate and ensures we represent the community correctly. As HMIS agency admins, we're counting on you to share this information with your agency supervisors, team leads, and users so that we can all work together to keep our live HMIS data clean and accurate. Any questions?
Don't see any right now.
Tracy did use the training often training site often. Okay. Well, I appreciate that very much, Tracy. Actually, CBI is not a big user of making fake clients in the live site, so that's a good thing. I can tell you're directing your people to use the training site. I appreciate that.
Allie.
So I'm just going to go over some new user packet reminders. And this is only for the folks who are not doing the live trainings. You don't have to worry about certificates when you do the live training. This is only if you go through the LMS platform. So all training certificates need to be completed through either your BOS LMS or the Maricopa LMS. Just a reminder with BOS, it might take a couple of days to get an account from the BOS system because I do believe it's just like one or two people inputting your data indirectly. It's not like a computer putting your information in the system. It's a person. So it might take a couple days to get an account for that one. Maricopa County LMS, I think it's pretty quick. So you'll get your credentials for that site pretty fast. When it comes to the packet itself, the packet and the ticket have to be submitted by an agency admin. So a case manager can't submit it. The user who's trying to get an account can't submit it. It has to come from the agency admin just so the agency admin knows how many licenses are available, or if there's an issue with licenses, we can get that information to them quickly. Also with the packet, you have to send the certificates with it. So you need the new user certificate as well as any additional project types with it. So if you are going to be a case manager or you're going to do street outreach, you also need those additional certificates with it. So more than just that new user certificate, we'll need those additional, I keep saying certificate doesn't even sound like a word anymore. I've said it so much over the last couple of days, it doesn't even sound like a word. So you'll need those additional ones to show us that you've completed those certificates. There's a new game, certificates of training. Does anybody have any questions? And like I said, this is only if you plan on doing the website versus the live training.
It says, I thought we only needed to submit one cert. She shortened it to cert.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been told that you have to submit all of your additional certificates along with your packet. I don't know if Sam wants to confirm or deny.
I will say it is dependent. So I don't set up as many users as everyone else. So I think we'll circle back and make sure that we have consistent guidance. We have definitely received feedback in the past that for like path, for example, we do need that one to be completed to have like the path EDA added. And so I think, for example, if you were submitting the introductory training and the standard user setup, you'd be good to go. If you didn't have the case manager one or the bells and whistles certificate, for example, that's sort of additional and doesn't really affect like your ability to have an account. But if it is sort of like an SSVF specific training for an SS specific EDA or path and so forth, I do think that it's better to have that certificate for those EDAs that are specific. But we'll make sure that we circle back, make sure that we're on the same page, and in the notes for the what's called AHW, we'll make sure that we send out that guidance.
Keep in mind that the introductory HMIS training is embedded in each one of the actual trainings, and that is what we need mostly to get your account started.
I mean, excellent questions so far. We do appreciate them. Even the tricky ones about minors growing in adulthood and, their data elements at entry. So that's one that's definitely worth digging into.
I guess we'll go ahead and conclude. Again, thank you all for joining us. We would like your feedback. It is important, so please complete the survey at the end of the meeting. And if we didn't answer your questions here, you can go ahead and submit a ticket to our help desk. So again, thank you all and have a great rest of your day.